It's 6:02. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Sarah, can you do roll call, please? Sharon.
President Bucher,
Here.
Trustee Young,
Here.
Trustee Hopkins,
Here.
Trustee Gant,
Here.
Trustee Faber,
Here.
Trustee Pulley,
Here.
Trustee Barheit. Thank you.
Did we meet open meeting compliance?
Yes, the original agenda was posted on Thursday, April 3rd, with the amended agenda being posted on the 4th, both here at the Village Hall and online.
Perfect. We will now move on to public comments. Please address the board. There's no back and forth discussions and a 3-minute limit. Oh, so sorry. This is twice now. I did on the last one too. Sorry. Trustees, do I have approval of the agenda sequence?
Yes. Yes.
I have a request to move item number 12, which is planning and zoning, up after number 9, if that is okay with everyone.
Yes.
All good? Great.
You need a motion? Yes. I'll make a motion to move item 12 up right after 9.2.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Faber. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Great. Now we move on to public comments. Please address the board. No back and forth discussions. James, if you'd like to come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
James Woodkey, 22416 88th Street, Salem, Wisconsin. What I would like to bring up was from last meeting on the flock cameras. I'm in favor of them. I think that it would be good for public safety, both for just people who are out on the road when maniacs come driving through, but for other things as well as missing kids, senior alerts, all those. As far as concerns about it, privacy and legal issues and all those, I think that most of those are really not a factor. And it would be beneficial for us to have them if we can afford them. And so, you know, that's two different things. Would it be a good thing? Yes, it would be a great thing. Where can we find the money for them? That's your job. So hopefully you can find it.
Thank you. All right, number 7, president's comments. Oh, Carol, you didn't sign up. Is that, Ramsey, is that okay? She had stated before the meeting that she wanted to speak. All right, sorry. Carol, state your name and address for the record.
I'm Carol Husnick at 9226 Court, Unit 19B in Salem. And I'm here to talk about the elusive ordinance 2024-11-117, which I haven't been able to physically see a copy of. But it is involving the ambulance charges. I have a neighbor that's 96 and a half years old in Echo Lane. And this lady slipped off the couch and she needed to be lifted up. And the paramedics were good enough to come and lift her up, although they took a blood sample, which she didn't want. But 3 weeks later, she gets a bill for $1,600 from our paramedic billing. And she called me up and she says, "What do you think is going on?" And I said, "Here's the fire department number, give them a call." Well, supposedly as of March 1st this year, the fees for paramedics to come out went from $500 to $1,600. And Medicare will not pay for any non-transport. I took the liberty to call the surrounding fire departments, Bristol, Pleasant Prairie, Summers, Twin Lakes, and none of them charge upfront for a lift assist. A couple of them, after 2 calls, will either look into the person's safety, or Summers actually assesses a charge of 250 after the first 2. Twin Lakes said they could charge 400, but for the convenience and being kind to their residents, they charge nothing. So I guess my question is, how does Salem justify a charge of $1,600 to come out and get somebody off the floor? I would like an answer.
Thank you. Right. Now we will go into president's comments. Once again, I would like to thank everyone who shows up to our board meetings regularly and for taking an interest in our community. It is nice to see involvement and to have people that understand what goes on and be involved. The next thing I would like to do is congratulate our newly elected trustees. Our new trustee, Angela Brooks, is here. And also Mr. Barheit and Mr. Poley. So congratulations. And then I also want to acknowledge James Woodkey, and who is here today, and also Doug Randolph. To be quite honest, any of the 3 that were running, or any of the 2 that didn't get on, would have been great too. So thank you for your willingness to run for the village, and you know, we have spots again next year. So and I also want to thank Patrick Dunn, who was just elected as judge. Many of you know that Judge Langle is retiring. And so we will have a new judge, Mr. Dunn, and he has been coming to the village for months now, learning the process, and Judge Langle's taken him under his wing to show him how all that works. So I think that he's going to do great. Also, due to the new election and a new member, we will have a new seating arrangement starting on April 21st. So I'm giving everyone a heads up now. I also want to mention that there is an Easter egg hunt Saturday, I think, the April 12th at 10 a.m. at Schmalfeld Park in Silver Lake. So if you have little ones that want to come out, that would be a nice event for them. And that is from our Parks Commission that is putting that on. That is all I have for president's comments. We will move into number 8, trustee reports, discussion and possible action on the following. 8.1, public safety liaison.
Nothing to report.
All right. Number 9, presentations, petitions, communications, discussion and possible action on the following. 9.1, County W presentation with Greg Bolt, Kenosha County Commissioner, and Caleb Mansky, Transportation Project Manager with R.A. Smith.
So, good evening. Thank you for inviting us up to discuss the project that's moving forward in 2026. So again, my name is Greg Bolt. I am the Kenosha County Highway Commissioner. I was appointed that position in July of 2024, so kind of new to the role. This was a project that had started before I had gotten here, but obviously the project is moving forward. With me is Caleb Mansky from R.A. Smith, who is a primary design project manager on the project. Just a couple of quick things. Like I said, it's scheduled for 2026 construction, so not this year, next year. And it goes from the Illinois State County Truck Highway W, just kind of there, you know, through the village of through the Wilmot area, and it starts at the state line and then ends at County Truck Highway C, or the stage stop intersection.
Could you turn that a little bit so the audience can see? Thank you.
So those are the limits of the project. You may have heard in the past that it was going further north, it was going further east, But upon review of the project, there's some significant drainage issues within, we'll call it downtown Wilmot. And so in order to utilize the funds and make sure we took care of the issues we want to take care of, we're focusing more on the drainage, kind of right across the street from Stage Stop there in the corner by the Wilmot Auto Repair and Gas Station. And then making sure that those drainage issues are resolved. But due to funding then, we had to shorten the project limits. That doesn't mean it won't be done in the future. I'm not saying it's not currently programmed, but something that we'll definitely keep on the horizon as funds allow. Outside of that, I can let Caleb Mansky with R.A. Smith kind of give a little bit more of a project overview, but that's kind of the, I guess, 100,000-foot level of it.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and present the project to you here tonight. As Greg said, project starts at the Illinois state line, goes up into Wilmot to 113th County Highway C East. Two main purposes of this project. Number one is to improve the life and condition of the pavement, and number two is to improve safety. So to improve the life of the pavement, we are doing what we're basically calling a pavement rehabilitation. So we're milling off some existing asphalt, pulverizing the remaining asphalt into a new base material, and then overlaying with new asphalt material. There's two notable exceptions to that. One is in the area from Geneva Supply and to the north for about 2,000 feet. That area is going to be completely reconstructed. And that's a safety improvement because if you're familiar with the area, very tight, sharp curve, very abrupt crest hill too that limits sight distance. We're going to cut down that hill to improve sight distance, and we're going to lengthen out that horizontal curve so that it meets the posted speed limit. Right now, it's what we call deficient. It doesn't meet current standards. And the intent there is to improve safety. There's a very bad crash problem there, including a number of fatalities. The other exception to that resurfacing is going to be in Wilmot from 114 to 113, that one block section. Again, it's going to basically be a reconstruct. There's some failing storm sewer in there that we have to go in and replace. And if we're going that deep into it, we might as well replace the pavement while we're there. Construction, as much as we can, will be left open to traffic. One time we will not be able to do that is when this section is being reconstructed. It's too much of a change to be able to construct it and allow traffic. So that will be detoured. The detour is right behind Greg there. And that's all vehicles.
Can you pull that out a little bit, please, so everyone can see it? Thank you.
It's going to go around basically the whole project, but Highway B over to Highway F, down Highway KD, back to Bond CK, back to W. While the one block section in Wilmot is being reconstructed, we will have a detour for trucks, but we do intend to keep that open for passenger vehicles. Just flip it over. Actually, I take that back. I had those switched. Sorry, this is the truck detour. This one is the truck detour to go all the way around the downtown section. And then on the second page, that's the first detour to bypass the rural section. So a little bit shorter detour for passenger vehicles. But while that one block section in Wilmot is being reconstructed, it's going to be very tight, very narrow, but we do want to keep it open to traffic because it's highly utilized. It's very important for the community down there. As Greg said, this is going to be done in 2026. It's going to likely take the full construction season, so roughly April through October. And it's going to be a little bit of a headache at times. That happens with road construction, but we are doing everything we can to have minimal impact on the community.
So a question for you.
Yeah.
On that one stretch where you're really gonna shut down all lanes on that top,
Here?
yeah.
Yep.
It looks like, how far north are you going to 316th?
No, 316 is right here. So there's 4 homes south of 316.
Yeah,
Stop basically just before that first.
okay. Thank you.
So I had a couple questions also.
Yep.
I was out of town when the February 3rd public meeting took place. So I apologize if I have some questions that were answered there. But there were the original community outreach meetings where people brought up concerns, and one of which was the fair. And do you have a plan to, I guess, cease operations originally what was discussed during the fair week and then resume again kind of concept, or what's the plan with that?
Nothing definitive is in place yet, but we can put provisions into the contract to limit impacts or say they have to have something open by a certain time. Do you know the fair dates?
I don't know the fair dates, but if you have the ability to get, it's in August, to get your hands on all that community outreach and the promises that were made by the previous county commissioner to the public that did show up at the high school, that would be really beneficial. In the original outreach, they asked questions like if anybody knew about hidden or previous gas stations that maybe were long abandoned, but the tanks were still there, different things like that. And a lot of great information came out of that. And one of the things that was discussed was they originally had designed stoplights in there and then the community said, no, we want stop signs. And they said,
Correct.
you're going to only get stop signs. So I'm just looking for confirmation that it's still only stop signs.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And like we just mentioned, I mean, we can put anything we put in the contract, right? But as soon as the more conditions you put in the contract, the longer it takes and the more money it's gonna cost.
So I completely hear you, but I don't know.
So
Yeah.
We'll evaluate it, but I will not promise we'll do anything special for the fair.
So that was a big push with the people who came out. And I don't know if you've ever been in Wilmot when, whether it's homecoming or the fair is filling up or letting out, but it would behoove you to take a real close look at that. And if you can accommodate that, because that's what was brought up was once you let a contract and then you say, oh, hey, by the way, you can't work for these 7 days, that can be a huge change order. But if you have it set up in the preconditions, it's going to be a big help. And if you do look into what happens in town there at the end and late into the night, it'd be really important to try and meet that request as a premium.
But I'm not gonna make any promises.
So I just want to say for the record, this is a county project, not a village project. So anyone watching, the village has no say in this. Pete, I would say you can send Samantha Kirkman an email on
Sure.
that subject because I think that that is very important. I would like to know where the dance studio is, what you are going to do to increase safety there. Because if you've ever been there on an evening when the little girls are going, I know I've been there and I've almost gotten run over. The trucks do not stop. There are very large semis that come through there from, Thielen and whatever. So I would like to know what you're going to do in that area. There's parking on both sides of the street and it's very tight as it is.
Yeah, great question. So we can't control driver behavior, but there are certain things that we can do to influence driver behavior. Simple things like high visibility crosswalks, street lighting to make pedestrians more visible, advanced signing or pedestrian push buttons or flashing beacons, and lane geometry of the roadway is one thing that we can also do. To give you an example of that one in particular, I know we've heard a lot about concerns from residents or vehicles that instead of going along the county highways here to go north, they like to cut back through side streets to, I won't say restrict that, but to severely, what we think will cut down on that, we can use the metrics to do that. So as you're approaching northbound here, currently today, it's basically one lane. And then there's a second parking lane that's open a lot of times that acts as like a right turn lane, which allows them. What we are proposing to do here is make a dedicated left turn lane, basically where the through lane is today. And then on the right side, instead of parking or bypass, it will be a through and right turn lane. So any vehicle that wants to turn right is likely going to be stuck behind vehicles that want to go straight. They won't be able to just bypass everybody at the intersection. So what that is going to help us do is make it a lot more efficient for vehicles to just continue on here, where again, we have an improved right turn lane. This radius is going to be made much larger so that trucks can do that appropriately. And They will have a dedicated right turn lane to make that a more.
Is that where stage step is? Where is that right there that you're showing me?
This would be about the dance studio.
Yeah, that's the one I'm asking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's, sorry, I'm getting back to
Okay.
the safer for pedestrians. So by doing some of these geometric improvements to get rid of some of these dangerous movements, people just trying to get around quickly. That makes it safer for pedestrians trying to cross.
Have you been there at night to see? It's a very dark intersection. There is a lighted stop sign there that flashes, but it's very, very dark. So I guess I would like to see lighting coming up to that intersection, not just at the intersection, because first off, they come around a curve, right? And they're going really fast, and then that stop sign is right there. So how many parking spots are you actually going to take out along that? Because Wilmot doesn't have parking as it is. And so I know that one of the things that we had talked about before was the county putting in a parking lot. So has there been any talk about that?
It has been discussed. And I know.
Because you're essentially killing the businesses that are there and that have been there for a long time.
Obviously, we're trying to weigh out all of the options, obviously pedestrian safety,
Mhm.
vehicle safety, flow of traffic, and try to maximize parking to the best of our ability. Can't, without purchasing buildings, which we don't want to do,
Right.
can't do it all. So we are met with some constraints there. But yeah, there is some reduction in parking, but we are going to stripe that parking lane, so it'll be striped. So, like it won't be designated parking stalls, but the area will be designated where parking is allowed. But yes, there is some reduction in parking. I know we looked at it. I don't remember the exact number.
So between the northbound right turn lane at 140, southbound right turn. Northbound right turn lane at 113. Total of 7 spaces.
That's huge in that area. Huge.
Yeah, so you,
Huge.
you talked about
Holy.
buildings a second ago about purchasing. There's an empty lot there.
Yeah.
There's no building.
Right, so yes, so there is an empty lot that I know some of the folks from Salem Lakes, and I have also had conversations with our county executive about a property that is there that is privately owned currently. It's not owned by the village, it's not owned by the county. There is a private owner of that lot, right? So there's gonna have to be a purchase if there wants to be a parking lot there.
Or a lease.
Whatever, some money would most likely need to be exchanged in order to have access to that private property, to the property owner. And then obviously there's the construction of the parking lot. How those funds are allocated and who pays for what can definitely be discussed. I mean, we've done some concepts of what that parking lot might look like, but we have not gotten to the point where anyone says who's paying for what.
So when are those conversations going to continue? And then what's the drop dead date that we're done talking and things are going to be the way they are? What is that time period?
Well, really, there is none, right? I mean, so we will not include the parking lot in this project.
So it's a done deal then.
Well, no, so due to the funding type, so we are getting state funding, which has got federal grant money to it. With that, we can't do like a separate parking lot on even if it's village owned or county owned property, right? There's set limits as to what you can do with federal funds as part of a project. So no matter what we do, it will not be included in this project. No matter what we do, the construction of that parking lot will have to be a separate project completed. So if that's done, probably going to be tough to do during the project because there's already going to be a lot of stuff working on there. Whether it's done after or before, that can be discussed. But as far as adding that parking lot as part of this project, just due to the funding and some other things, it won't happen. It can't happen.
So just to be clear, while all this construction's going on, we're taking away parking spots from the businesses downtown Wilmot, and no thought by the county has been given to temporary parking on that particular lot. Is that correct?
The county doesn't own the
I
property.
didn't say that. I said lease. So lease signifies that it's not owned by the county, but there's been no discussion by the county of leasing that corner lot.
No, there has not.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Bolt, just a couple things. When this project first came along, I did a lot of reading into the fund lineup where it comes from federal down to state, down to county. And I had asked questions, actually, believe it or not, about improving stormwater and was told the money couldn't be used for that. However, when I looked into it myself, the funds are actually very wide open to what they can be used for. So I guess I just want to professionally or respectfully say, if you look into the print and what that's for, that you very well might be able to direct funds to that direction if you dig into it a little bit further. I spent a lot of time reading top to bottom on that, and it really is designed to be very broad and give communities the ability to do whatever it is they need to have done to improve the roadway, as in whatever that project looks like. So just something to consider, to take a look at for maybe a response. And then separately, and maybe you're going to get to this, and I apologize if I'm getting ahead of you, but originally I understood there was going to be a walking path that like went across the river, and is that what the yellow line is? Is that still happening?
So yes, the yellow, full yellow is basically new sidewalk. It's 10 feet wide out rural areas to get to the lines. You're referring to crossing going across the Fox River here.
Yeah, there was going to be bridge work and that sort of thing.
Yep, all of that
Has come out. Okay.
Not that it won't be done in the future, but as part of this project, it's
And how about going south out of Wilmot there, the yellow line? That is, all that yellow signifies part of this project.
previously it had been shown on.
And you mentioned concrete. Originally it was going to be asphalt. That all that yellow is concrete. Is that right? Okay, or maybe I misheard you, but it's supposed to be asphalt. That's okay. So it's supposed to be asphalt then? Okay.
Not in. Outside.
Are you doing this in phases at all, or is this going to be torn up completely from one end to the other?
So generally, the idea right now is to do it in phases. What those are, we haven't finalized yet. Because the road has to be closed for this reconstruct, we are intending to limit them. That they have to get it done within a certain time period. It's not that they can just close it and leave it all year.
So the phases will most likely be like a phase to do this work, a phase to do this work, and then the primary resurfacing, pulverizing of the longer stretches will kind of be done at one time.
So maybe when you think about your phases in the fair, you can keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm not going to, but there is a cost in time that goes along with it, right? So if we're tight on time already, we only have so much, we all know we live in Wisconsin.
Mhm.
And so if we say you have to have something done and you look at what scheduling would look like and you say, well, yeah, we could have that done. And then a lot of times you don't just lose that 1 week. You usually lose a couple of weeks on either side of it while they're getting ready for it, or have to stop operations, demobilize, come back. So if we're just the 1 week, it's not as big of a deal, but we also have to look at where would things line up, and with the understanding, if we're pushing that timeline already towards the end of the construction season, that's the things we have to consider, right? And again, every time you tell a contractor that he can't keep moving and he needs to demobilize and then mobilize his crews back, there's a cost to that. I'm not saying we won't look at it, but
I understand that,
there is
but
a
these
cost.
businesses, that's their whole livelihood too. So
Well, no,
I
and
mean,
I understand,
taking that
and
into
I mean,
account.
I-
But I guess
and all
my,
the PI, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, when do you anticipate your final plan on timing to be ready? We're 12 months out now. So is that 6 months from now? Is that, I mean, I think that it would be,
Everything will be set for sure in November.
November. So that's not giving. Okay. And at that time, are you going to have another public session to let everyone know what that is? Because I mean, these businesses, like I said, they're small business. That's small business. So, I don't know what they could possibly prepare for, but I think that it would be respectful to let them know what the timeline is.
No, absolutely. And we have spoken to, I believe, every business owner, if not like one-on-one, like outside of like a public informational meeting, like we've met several business owners already just out in the middle of the street or at their property. But I believe we've spoken to every business owner in a one-on-one context throughout the whole thing and kind of told them what to expect, what they, what's going to happen. And they have all of our contact information, right? So, I mean, we have done a public outreach. We understand it's not easy. It stinks. I get that. It does. And I'm not trying to downplay that. It really does. And, I've spoken to the folks from Hanson's and the Garwoods from the gas station and the dance studio and Allie at the stage stop. We've talked to all of them and we're going to work with them the best we can. But there are some things we just can't avoid. We'll try to limit the inconvenience. We can't eliminate it. It just won't happen.
I understand.
And that's all I'm trying to say is no matter what we do, we will not eliminate the inconvenience. The best we can do is limit it.
Absolutely, and certainly appreciate those efforts. During those original talks, where at the time your predecessor Clement had come and talked to the community at the high school, there was one thing that, for lack of a better term, was promised, which was that, generally in a construction project like this, there's construction schedules and like weekly meetings and weekly look aheads, and that there'd be some kind of community outreach email that people could sign up for to get, hey, expect closures like on these dates. That'd be really helpful to places like the Stage Stop and things like that, where they could at least know, hey, you know what, there's not going to be any cars coming by this week. Maybe I won't bring as many people on staff or not order as many things, whatever it might be. And so if we could see if that's possible for you to work into where you can let the community have, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, however you would find it most sufficient to work on to let people know. Because you're already doing that for the contractor, for the county as a standard item anyway, if we could somehow have access to that.
Maybe a point of clarification too. It is a county project, but it's being administered by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. So they come in and oversee everything. It's a collaborative effort between the DOT and the county, but the DOT also has certain processes and protocols that they have to follow. I won't commit Greg to anything here, but usually the DOT for a project like this likes to come in and require their construction engineer, which won't be me. They'll require their construction engineer to host a public involvement meeting right before construction starts. So February, March of next year. And then at that time, they usually work out with the construction engineer how they're going to disseminate information. Emails, website, T hosts. It's kind of a DOT.
So with that said and done, during the 83 construction, Highway 83, there was a gentleman who came in, I don't know if it was DOT or whatever, but they came in each of our meetings twice a month and kind of gave us an update as well as a plan for the upcoming weeks. Is that going to happen? Can you make that happen, Mr. Bolt?
I can look into see what that's going to look like. So you want a representative to attend bi-monthly meetings of the Village of Salem Lakes Village Board?
Yeah, they did on the Route 83, Highway 83 construction, the what do you call it? Laying of new asphalt and whatnot. But they came in, gave us a heads up where they're at, are they behind schedule, ahead of schedule, and what stage they're at and what they plan to do in the next 2 weeks. Because we have a number of residents who watch these meetings via YouTube, and that's definitely going to get the word out to some of these. folks as well.
Gentlemen.
Let me see how that was handled in the past and who performed those, who attended those meetings, who presented at those meetings.
I would like to just ask a few questions. First of all, thanks for coming in tonight, and sharing this with us. Also for that on-site meeting that, some of us attended, answered a lot of our questions and whatnot on site. So that was a good hands-on, visual there. On behalf of the Stage Stop, Kenosha County Department of Public Works, Division of Highways, asking for them to pull a permit for existing encroachment within the highway right away. If you guys could look into that and see why she would need to pull a permit on behalf of the county or on behalf of herself due to a county project or DOT was that. It does say that the legal description of encroachment of what encroachment is walls, WALLS. So is it barrier wall? Is it pedestrian right away that we're encroaching on? Is it our business? So there's just kind of, some fog in the air about that. If you guys could help me out with that, I'd really appreciate it.
Yes, I will look into that one specifically.
Yes.
Back to you exactly.
Thank you.
And what the permit would say, it depends on if it's infected, if it's being impacted to the actual construction. If it's so if the wall is in the county's right of way, but we need to remove it to build it, that's their responsibility. We have the right to remove that wall if it's in our right of way. If it's encroaching on our right of way, but it doesn't need to be removed, what we're saying is it's there, it can stay, but in the future, if something needs to happen to it, basically we're giving notice that that wall may need to be removed off the right of way at a later date. That's, again, not knowing the exact situation, but just giving you the two situations that we've dealt with encroachments are it's affecting construction or it's not affected by construction.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
And the only other question I had is the amount of money that was necessary to do the project originally with stoplights was one figure. When the stoplights were removed, the number thrown out was roughly $250,000 an intersection that was to be saved by not going to stoplights. And now I see the project has shrunken dramatically. Did the original money for this project get partially rediverted or reduced that resulted in this reduction in project, or how did we get to this?
The biggest change in the reduction is, I guess the storm sewer right now is actually on private property. So the storm sewer at the corner of County W and C is actually on private property going underneath the gas station's property. Okay. Part of this project is we want the county storm sewer in the county's right of way. But as you also know, there's a big stream, creek that runs through there that has to collect that water. So that was a pretty significant pipe that is currently on private property. The goal of this project and the reason the cost expanded was we are replacing that pipe, putting it in our right of way, and then making some storm sewer improvements all the way along in the downtown Wilmot area that were not initially included. So that increase in storm sewer improvements is the reason that the project limits were reduced.
Okay. And with that, is there going to end up with new curb and gutter then between those 2 points in pink, roughly speaking?
Any other questions? Thank you. (9.2) Economic Development Committee update.
For those of you that weren't at the EDC meeting tonight, what we discussed was we have a survey that was put out on March 15th, and it's more in depth into different concepts and ideas that people have expressed they might want in our community. So our goal is to figure out how to get a greater participation in the village. So within the next week or two, this survey will become available, and we are going to try some different methods to get it out to the public so we can get a broader view of what the public actually wants. So that is what we're going to be working on in the next month. Two, we will be starting to look at certain ordinances. I guess we would call it low hanging fruit, see if there's some things that we can recommend to make changes to maybe make the village work a little bit better. And then we also would like to look at workshops in conjunction with our EDC meetings so that we can get more of a public involvement where people can be more open, discuss, so that it's not so official. So we're in hopes to kind of coordinate all that in the next month. And then even more importantly, if anybody's got any thoughts or ideas, please email any one of the members or Cassandra or Sarah so that we can kind of get a broader overview and how to move forward in the most expeditious way possible. Thank you.
All right. Number 12, planning and zoning, discussion and possible action on the following. 12.1, ordinance 2025.04-91, repealing chapter 490-8.4 of the municipal code of the Village of Salem Lakes, regulating multiple zoned parcels.
In front of you is an ordinance repealing chapter 490-8.4 of the municipal code for the Village of Salem Lakes. It's repealing an ordinance that allowed for split zoning of parcels, and this will allow for multi-district zoning regulations on single lots. This will allow for more flexibility within our zoning code for future building and development of parcels. The Plan Commission held a public hearing for this agenda item on March 19th, 2025. One member of the audience asked why the village is requesting to repeal an ordinance it created in 2020. The ordinance was created in 2020. Well, it was created to simplify enforcing zoning violations on multiple zone parcels. The intent of the ordinance created in 2020 has not been realized, and in some circumstances makes developing parcels more difficult. My recommendation is for approval of the ordinance in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance 490-8.4-4.
No, I think you have the ordinance 2025.04-91.
Yeah. Okay.
You said 490-8.4.
Correct.
The ordinance number you would be approving tonight is 2025.04-9.
Yeah, 2025 -04-91. And then second.
All right, Hopkins in favor. Any other discussion or questions? Ramsey, I'm not certain, and I don't know why I'm asking this. Maybe. Do we have to do roll call on ordinance changes?
I don't believe.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. 12.2, ordinance 2025.04-89, amending the land use plan maps for the Village of Salem Lakes, maps 23, 24, and 25 on a portion of tax parcel 704-120-233-0205 from I-1 institutional to HC Highway Corridor Business. For informational purposes only, this parcel is located on the west side of State Highway 83 at the intersection with 98th Street, which is Salem Lakes Village Hall.
Making a motion to approve ordinance 205-04-89.
I'll second.
Right, Brad?
This map amendment would allow for the rezoning of the parcel that, or a polygon of this parcel that we're sitting on to allow for the rezoning of the old or rescue building to allow for us to lease it.
Any questions or comments from trustees? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? 12.3 ordinance 2025.04-90, amending the zoning map for the Village of Salem Lakes on a portion of tax parcel 704-120-233-0205 from I-1 institutional to B3 highway business. For informational purposes only, this parcel is located on the west side of State Highway 83 at the intersection with 98th Street, Salem Lakes Village Hall.
Second.
Both Faber and Gant. Brad?
This is part two of the previous ordinance. This will actually rezone the map to allow for business in that building.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? 12.4 conditional use permit from Wonderful Wilmot LLC 12001 2304th Avenue. Is that right? 304th Avenue, is it? 304th Avenue. Trevor, Wisconsin 53179, owner Dwayne Garwood. 12001 304th Avenue, Trevor, Wisconsin 53179, agent for a fueling station and automotive service and repair station in the B2 Community Business District on tax parcel 704-123-03-0766, located in the southwest one corner of Section 30, Township 1 North, Range 20 East, Village of Salem Lakes. For informational purposes only, this parcel is located on the southwest corner of the intersections of 113th Street, County Highway C, and Fox River Road, County Highway W.
Motion to approve.
So we have Young
Holy second.
and Polly is a second. Go ahead, Andy.
So we do have this item before you. The petitioner presented this before the Plan Commission on March 19th. It did get approved unanimously. One caveat to note is that the fueling station by ordinance is required, or the fueling pumps, to be 30 feet from the right of way. Due to the logistics and the shape of the property, they're asking for it to be 10 feet. That was part of the approval at the Plan Commission to allow that.
I think
Questions?
the other questions or discussion, my understanding is that typically a fueling station tanks over a certain size are actually regulated by the state, and that the setbacks actually as little as 5. Is that accurate?
I'm not familiar with that, and just know from the fueling pumps in the village ordinance, it states that they're required to be 30 feet.
Right. It's my understanding that statewide it's 5. Just I don't know why we're more stringent. Just curious on that.
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. All I got.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? All right, so we have a first by Young, second by Pulley to approve the CUP. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Andy.
Andy. We'll go on to number 10, Treasurer's Office. Discussion and possible action on the following. 10.1, introduction of Christopher Dement, Treasurer / Finance Director. Yeah,
So
don't be shy.
Yeah, so because there's action, we can actually deny this?
I
Is that correct?
would recommend it, but I just wanted to take a moment to introduce Christopher Dement is our new board member, or not, sorry. Board member was pointing at me, made me think board, sorry. So Christopher Dement is our new finance director, treasurer for the Village of Salem Lakes. He was hired by the board about a month ago, and it took a little bit of time for him to get on board because he had to give proper notice. So I will let him introduce himself, and he likes to go by Chris, not Christopher.
Okay, good to know.
Thanks, Cassandra. Chris Dement, formerly with Racine County. Been here, just finished my first week this past week. So I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to helping Salem Lakes kind of go forward in whatever direction Cassandra and the board envision for the community. And everyone's been great to work with so far. So I'm glad I'm here and ready to get to work.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. All right, number 11, clerk's office, discussion and possible action on the following. 11.1, approval of minutes from March 10th, 2025 village board meeting.
I'll move to approve.
Second that motion.
Faber and Young. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? 11.2, ordinance 2025.4-92, an ordinance repealing and recreating the provisions of chapter 128-10 of the municipal code for the village of Salem Lakes to adopt the state of Wisconsin Municipal Record Schedule, WMRS.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Hopkins and Gant, and I'm gonna let Sarah talk.
All right. So previously, we have adopted this municipal schedule before from the state. However, in doing some background research for another topic, we could not find the previously signed agreement and documentation. So I did call the state and the Public Records Board, and they advised that we just pass it again and adopt it. So that's why I am bringing it before you.
I have one comment with the second paragraph there, that the wording has to be corrected. Now therefore, be resolved that the common council of the city of Burlington, Racine County,
Oh, boy.
should be changed to
Rich back. Dennis.
I will make note.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? 11.3, spring election update.
All right. So the turnout for our spring election was quite a bit higher than anyone anticipated. Most clerks thought we were going to get between 30 and 40% turnout, which is about normal. 40% would have actually been kind of on the higher side. But our voter turnout ended up being approximately 58.4%. So almost 60% voter turnout for a spring election is pretty good. Our participation at the polls was also higher than ever seen at a spring election. And the numbers are similar to the ones that we had at the general election in November. So it was pretty impressive, the amount of people here in the municipality came out to vote. I'm kind of impressed.
Great. Thank you. You guys did a great job. All right, 11.4, approval of applications filed with the clerk for a direct seller operator license and or alcohol licensing with approval contingent on background check clearance, completion of beverage server class, and payment of the necessary fees. Class B beer and Class B liquor for the Kenosha County Fair Association. Agent Jenny Hess.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Who had the second?
Polly.
Hopkins and Polly. Any questions? Comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Great. And then approval of applications for direct sellers, Legacy Telecom as listed.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr.
Anyone op-
President?
oh.
If I might make another comment about the direct sellers. We again ran into an issue, at least over in my neck of the woods, with a direct seller. And come to find out, there were two of them going door to door. And when I asked the first one for his permit, he showed it, but it had expired. And when the second one came up, he said he left it in his car. So I asked him to go back and get it. And I said to him, he says, well, it's around the corner. I said, well, let's do a better thing. Let's look on the website. He was never approved for a direct seller's license. So a background check had never been done. So at that point, I called the non-emergency number of the Kenosha County Sheriff's deputies to come out and make sure that they left the village of Salem Lakes.
Right, we'll do the vote again because I didn't get to, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. All right,
Did I do that?
you did,
Sorry.
okay. All right, we will move on to number 13, Administrator. Discussion and possible action on the following. 13.1, closing Village Hall for staff training on the BSNA software suite on Wednesday, April 9th and Thursday, April 10th, 2025.
I'll second.
Faber and Hopkins, go ahead, Cassandra.
So this is a notification to the public as well as to the board that we are going to be closing for 2 days for the purposes of staff training. As you're aware, we've had a pretty significant turnover in staffing with 100% of our finance staff being new. And so when BSNA is your financial software, it is really important that your finance team be fully up to speed, as well as we would like to have cross training of the majority of our Village Hall staff, actually all of our Village Hall staff, on the payroll module, the timekeeping module, the accounts payable, general ledger, cash receipting, and there's a couple other that I'm forgetting at the moment, but it is a all hands on, everybody learning. We'll even have our fire chief there so that he knows how to enter things into where it belongs, as well as run his own reports. So this will help to make our village more efficient, as well as make sure everybody knows how to correctly use every module that we have.
So just so everyone knows, I did ask for various different scenarios that we did not have to be closed 2 full days and this week. The first ask was to split it up between a Friday and a Monday. So you only have close 1 day, 1 week, and 1 day the next week. BSNA could not accommodate that. I also had asked to do 4 half days. So we were only closed half the day. They also could not accommodate that. We also tried to move weeks. They were not available. And this training does cost us $2,500. And it is very important because as Cassandra said, it is everything to do with the financials here. So I just want the public to know that as well, that, you know, we did try to come up with different scenarios so we wouldn't have to be closed and also on short notice.
I think we could have this announced in something like a West.
I think that we should ask Darren to post that. And I also had asked Cassandra, I see that it's out on the board, but also to put it on the doors and then maybe even at the post offices would be nice. Because it is short, you know, notice, but financial software is very important to be able to know how to use so that we can continue with daily operations and so.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Number 14, closed session. 14.1. Closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session. And pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub G, for purposes of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or may be involved, specifically concerning terms and conditions of contractual rights and obligations with the Village of Paddock Lake regarding debt service credits and ownership of the heavy rescue fire truck under the parties' agreement for firefighting, fire inspection, and rescue services to be provided by the Village of Salem Lakes to the Village of Paddock Lake. I make a motion to move into closed session.
Second.
Trustee Young,
Abstain.
Jared, you don't need to abstain.
I
You're still trustee.
get it.
Is that proper, Ramsey? I guess my question.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Trustee Hopkins,
Yes.
trustee Gant,
Yes.
trustee Faber,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Barheit,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so motion carries 6-0 to 1 or 6-1. Okay. Reconvene into open session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 2 for possible additional discussion and or action concerning any matter discussed in closed session. We had a motion by trustee Hopkins and a second by trustee Barheit with a unanimous decision to move into open.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to direct staff to continue negotiations as discussed on the fire contract with the village of Paddock Lake.
I'll second.
So we have first by Hopkins, second by Gant. Mr. Barheit,
Yes.
Mr. Pulley,
Yes.
Mr. Faber,
Yes.
Mr. Gant,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.